I'm Teryn Darling, and you're listening to Tatter-a-Fact here at Girls Inc. And today, we're going to have a great conversation with someone that really needs no introduction. We're here with Shay Danielle. No S on the end of that. Shay Danielle. Did I get that right, Shay?
You got it right. Not Shay Danielle, not Shay Daniels. Shay Danielle.
Shay Danielle. And it's so pretty. Is Shay your real name? Is it Shaylin? And Shay's like short?
Close. It's Shaylene.
Shaylene. Okay. That's my accent again. That's my accent again.
My parents found my name in a motorcycle magazine, apparently. I don't know if it was at the hospital, but I think it was a last minute decision. And it's Shaylene, but there's actually no Y in my name, which is really interesting. So it's Shalene. And then I added the Y in high school because I'd go by SHA for Shay, but then it would read Shaw.
Yeah, everybody would call
So when I would
Shaw.
meet new people, they'd be like, "Hi, Shaw." And I'm like, "No, it's Shay." "Well, where's the Y?" "Well, I don't have a Y." "Well, why not?" And then so I just added the Y, and that is, Shay. And Danielle's my middle name, actually.
Oh, I love that. It's a beautiful name. And you're a beautiful human. I'll just say that.
Oh,
We've been getting to know
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I mean that with all sincerity. We've taken our time to get to know each other. You and I have been getting to know each other little by little for quite a few years now.
I remember the first time that I met you. And I took a picture with you and I fangirled so hard. And I met her, and I'm tall. I'm very tall in person. I'm like 5'9", and Teryn is not very tall in person. And so in this picture that I have of us, our first picture together, I am crouching down to be smaller like you, but then you also crouched down. I don't know why. We both crouched down together. So we're just a very tall person, a very small person, crouching down in a photo together. It's epic.
It's epic. That was in Miami.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
It
I was doing an eyeliner.
Long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. And I was doing an eyeliner class. Yeah, I remember that. I remember everything.
And now we're friends, which is so cool. This
now
industry
we're friends.
is so amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. It's amazing. And it's changing like crazy. The industry is changing like crazy. And I think the industry is in a really, I don't know if weird is the word, but it's just kind of in this place where almost like it's like purging itself.
Yeah.
And I feel like a rebirth is coming of some sort. I don't
Agreed.
know. A lot of change going on.
There
Right?
is a lot of change going on. I feel like things were very, not stagnant, but like consistently the same for years there. The years of all of the mistakes that everyone made. And now we're in a new era, I would say, for sure. So you're seeing a lot of change happen, a lot of questions being asked, and adjustments being made. And it's kind of cool to see. I'm really excited to see what even a year, 2 years from now, it's going to look like.
So let me ask you this. We're not going to really talk about the industry regarding economy and that stuff, on this podcast. We're going to talk about some other really deep stuff. But just quickly, there's you field a lot of phone calls and emails and whatnot, and so do we at Girls Inc. And a lot of people are really nervous, really afraid, really nervous what the future holds for either PMU as an industry or themselves, as an artist. So how do you feel, although we're going through some hard changes and some artists, even companies, are experiencing maybe some challenging times, some struggles, do you feel hopeful for the PMU industry and the artists themselves in the future?
Yeah. I think if we're not challenged, we get too comfortable. And I think for the industry as a whole, over the last, 5 or 6 years, people got really comfortable. Like, you didn't really have to work that hard for clients. Like, the books were full, you were busy, it was good. It was just really, really good. And I think we all got a little bit too comfortable, even myself, like in that space. Nothing that good lasts forever. And now we're in a different space where, guess what? We have to actually work a little harder. We have to educate our clients. We have to pull them in. They're not lining up out the door anymore, but that doesn't mean that you can't invite them into your space. You just have to work a little harder or change your mindset or your business, growth strategies to adjust to the time. Like that's my take on it.
Yeah, no, that's my take too. I feel really, really hopeful. And I've been through a few different, nothing stays great forever and nothing stays bad forever. That's, and if you're in business long enough, I always say, then you're going to be lucky enough to go through some dips and ups and dips and ups, right? That's just the nature of business. And 2008 was one of the worst times in our economy, and we saw a lot of struggle, a lot of change, a lot of artists, losing their studios and closing shop, supply just like what we're seeing now. And when you make it to the other side of that, and of course many people did, they had to pivot, tighten their belts, and weather the storm. And when you make it on the other side of that, I think it's empowering. There's something very empowering about it, and it gives you just a little bit more confidence for the next one, right? For the next one.
You learn a lot during like the harder times or the times that are quieter, and it pushes you outside of your comfort zone, try new things, try new marketing, ways to get business booming again. And you learn a lot in those times. So I think it's almost a little bit necessary for the longevity, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. 100%. Yeah. All right. So are you ready to dive in?
I'm so ready. I'm so excited.
Okay. So first I want to ask you something a little fun.
Okay.
Something a little fun. So one thing that we have in common, Shay, is we both work with our other halves. I work with my wife, Kat.
Yes. And I work with Blair.
And you work with Blair. So perks. There's some wonderful perks working with my wife, you working with your husband, but it also comes with some challenges. I think. Does. So I'll tell you like one challenge Kat and I had to deal with and we had to fix, and we still have to be conscientious of it, is at one point in our relationship, it's like we almost, or I think we did, not that we lost it. Let's just say it got put on the back holder because on the back burner, but it's like we lost that romantic part of our relationship. We became business partners, business owners only, and it consumed us. And we did lose that romantic part of our relationship. It's like we weren't romantic lovers anymore. We were business owners. And then one day we just kind of recognized that. And we had to start making rules. Like on Sundays, we don't talk business. We don't answer this. We don't do that. We had to start scheduling date nights. So we go on dates. We go to dinner and then we go see live music. Like we just went and saw Tom Jones.
Yeah, you guys are always doing fun things together. Yes. Like you're going to fun shows or having your, your pretty cocktails. I see you guys doing stuff.
Well, you have to. We had to start scheduling that in. And then for date night, I think Kat and I, or at least Kat, just assumed, okay, we have date nights now. So when we go to dinner, it's all going to be about us. And Teryn's going to be so focused on me and telling me how great I look in, my dress. And we're just going to talk about our lives. And well, no, Shay, we'd sit down, I'd take a sip of martini and I'd start talking business. Yeah. And so, so she kind of had to rein me in and set even another set of rules. Teryn, date night means
layer 2 of the rules.
Layer 2 of the rules. No business. We don't talk PMU. We don't talk about PMU people. Nothing. We talk about us, our dogs, our friends, our dreams, our future. We talk about us. And I'm pretty good at it now, but it did take me some time because I wasn't so good at it. So I wanted to know if you and Blair, did you guys go through something like, because a lot of people, Shay, when they go into business together, a lot of marriages or relationships don't survive it, or they become damaged.
So, yeah. Right.
You know?
It can be difficult. Like there's boundaries that get blurry for sure. But so ours is kind of an opposite story, because I feel like when Blair became more involved in the business, because he wasn't always, right? Like I started off like solopreneur by myself. He kind of barely knew the details of like what I was doing, or, you know, like, yes, he knew how much I was making, but he wasn't involved in all of it. It was my thing kind of thing. And he had his thing, his work. And we didn't connect on like a work level, right? Like there was just a disconnect there. So we loved each other. We had like our romantic stuff was there, but we didn't have that in common. And me trying to explain this industry or client situations or anything regarding like pigments or needles or whatever, gossip of the industry, trying to explain that to someone who's not in this world, it's boring. It's like even how I've kind of lost touch with some of my friends outside of this, you know, our world of PMU. And so I craved connecting with him on that level, but it almost was too exhausting for me to explain it all to him and to, okay, so today, you know, like guess who sent me a DM? Like Teryn Darling sent me a DM. He wouldn't have a clue back then. So I wished he was more involved so that we had that in common. So when he did come and join the business, like full time, drop the job that he had and really focus in on this, there was a buildup. Like it took time for him to, you know, immerse himself in this world and understand it a little bit more. But now I feel like we're even more connected, and he understands me and my mind and how crazy I am with my ideas and what works and what doesn't. And, you know, he's so much more involved in that. So I feel like it's kind of the opposite. I feel like closer to him. But I will say we don't do date nights often enough. Like it's very, it's very rare.
So is it always work? Is it always business for you guys? No,
it's work or kids. It's one of those two things. Yeah. Like if it's not work, it's kids. And now they're in the season of like tournaments and competitions and stuff like that. So like literally it's one or the other.
So now you have to fit in.
I know we have to. And we know that. And we talk about it.
Yeah.
And we're not struggling, but we don't want it to become an issue. You know, we don't want it to become something where it's like we feel disconnected or whatever. So we're aware, and we're going to try and work on that for sure.
Well, that's good. At least
you do need that time.
You do. And at least you guys are talking about it, because a lot of couples that work together, they don't even talk about it. They just, you know, they may recognize it's happening, and they don't, like it was happening with Kat and I. Not that we were ever struggling or the relationship was damaged. You know,
but you want to acknowledge it.
Yeah. You know, we were always best friends still to this day. But the romantic side was, I think we both
not getting enough attention. That's all. I understand it completely. I bet everyone listening also understands it completely. It's unavoidable. It just happens. You know, you've got to prioritize it. And I think that that's really important. And I think with Blair and I and the work side of things too, why we don't get too crazy is because his side of work is very different than my side of work. So what I do, he doesn't really involve himself in. He's like spreadsheet numbers, like organized, crazy organization. And I'm the complete opposite. So we don't really step on each other's toes. So even when he wants to talk to me about spreadsheets, I'm like not interested. And when I want to talk to him about my podcast interview today with you, he will be interested because he knows a little bit about it now, you know? So gotcha. It's perfect. It's a good balance.
That's good. Kat and I too, we both have our areas of Girls Inc. that we work, and they're really separated, which helps. Like she has she runs the store and distributors and all that stuff.
Same with Blair.
And I'm more the creative side. I couldn't tell you who orders on our store and who doesn't. I just couldn't. It's just not my thing. I have nothing to do with the store or any of that stuff.
But Blair and Kat could tell us all about it if we sat down and we listened.
If we wanted to even know about it, which, you know,
exactly.
I kind of don't know. Exactly. Well, let me just do my podcast and make tutorials. And
it's a need to know basis. If I need to know it, so be it. Otherwise, it's good.
I know. Well, the store part's so stressful for me. It seems so stressful. I just want to be a creative person,
Yep.
which is much less
Same.
stressful for me.
Same.
Okay, so let's talk about something a little bit more seriously. So,
Okay.
so the other day
Mm-hmm.
we were leaving voicemails back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you made a statement that I wanted to talk about with you today. So, because you and I have talked over the last, would you say year and a half, contemplated collabing on something together.
Yes.
And it just quite hasn't come together. So, but we were talking back and forth, and you said to me that you don't see yourself as a role model, and you don't feel like you're a role model to the industry, and that caught me off guard. It surprised me that you would say that, or that you feel that, like you don't see yourself as a role model and you don't feel like you're a role model, because I see you as a role model, not just any old role model. I see you as a really positive, really great, inspiring role model that this industry needs. And if if today was your last day in PMU and we never saw you again, Shay, there would be a feeling of loss there, I think. And I think I'm probably speaking for a lot of, people listening to this podcast. I mean, I think a lot of people, most see you as a role model. So I wanted to ask you, like, why don't you see yourself as a role model or feel like you're a role model?
I don't even know. As I said that to you and I heard myself say it out loud, I thought more about it, because it's a feeling, like I never signed up. Same with you, right? I'm sure when you took your first client, you didn't have this vision of your life or your career turning into what it has turned into, or that this would be your day-to-day life at some point in time. Like, it's like we never really think that far in advance or know what it's going to be like. And so, I feel like I started out just like everyone else did, as we all do. I was working from my home, working from a little spare room, and honestly made so many mistakes, didn't know what I was doing. And then this snowball kept rolling and rolling and rolling, and it's gotten me to where I am today. And where I am today, it was just not a place that I ever thought that I would be. And so I still see myself, when I see myself, I see myself as that young girl, like setting up her fold out bed and in the spare bedroom, and taking clients. And so I have to pinch myself sometimes, because I love this industry so much. I really do. I don't know that I'm sure there is, but I feel like there's no one that could love what they do more than I do. Like, I truly am so grateful for what I do. But I don't know that I feel like a role model. Like, I feel like such a normal person. And, when people ask me questions, like, I'm the first to answer them. And I don't know that it's always the right answer, but it's my answer. It's the answer that, I can give you based on my experience.
I think that I can resonate with what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think that's a big part of what makes you such a good role model, is that you've remained very humble about it, and that you're just a regular old everyday PMU artist, setting up your own tray, taking out your own trash. And that was me. I can vividly remember, it was probably maybe 2006. And I think that was my first lecture. And I can remember, it was the executive director of the SPCP at the time. And I can remember the very first time she was the first one ever told me, well, you're a leader now. And that caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Because you, like you said, you don't ask for it.
No.
You don't intend to set
you
out.
You don't sign up on a form. Like,
no.
Role model status.
Right. I think there's some people that go out there very strategically and they want that position. Yes. Right. Okay.
Agreed.
And not everybody that makes it to a role model or mentor position remain humble, right? And remain connected to the everyday artist. I know with my studio, I owned my studio for 13 and a half years. No one's, and like I set up my own tray, I cleaned the bathroom, I took out my own trash. I never asked any of my artists or apprentices to do anything that I wasn't willing to do myself. So, so I can resonate a little bit. And I think there's a little bit of fear admitting and recognizing that you're a role model, because for me, a lot of responsibility comes with that title. I feel the weight of the industry on me. It comes with a lot of responsibility. That's how I feel, that I didn't necessarily ask for, yet it happened. I ended up in that position, and I just decided to run with it and do what I can to be the best role model I can and help as many artists as I can and improve the industry if I'm able in even the smallest of ways. And so, so I do resonate with what you're saying. It took me some time to accept that role and not feel uncomfortable with that role.
And I'm so grateful. Like I literally dedicate the first hour of every morning that I come into the studio 5 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. We sit, me and my assistant, and we answer every single DM via voice note. Like I send a voice note back to every single question. And it takes us an hour every day to answer all of the DMs that we have. And they are just questions about, pigment choice, or why did this happen? Or what needle should I use for this? It's just common questions. And I love it. Like it's my favorite hour every day to just connect with people and talk to them and help them. So I'm grateful. I am so grateful that people trust me enough to ask me these questions, or that they trust me enough to want to learn, my ways of doing whatever it is that they're needing help with. And I think that the hardest part for me, in being a role model, in speaking on stages or creating online courses or sharing techniques, is that there are so many different ways to do things in this industry. And for me, I would question myself, is my way the right way? Am I teaching them the right way to do this? Am I answering the right way? But I've acknowledged and now learned that there are so many different ways, and every artist has a different way. And it doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. Like there can be multiple ways of doing something and ending up with a great outcome. And so that's something that I continue to learn every day as I teach, as I share information, as I make educational content. All of this is me being more comfortable with myself and my choices and my way of doing things, because I've always felt like such an intuitive artist. I make decisions, I make choices based off of like this magical thing inside my mind that tells me what to do. But that is my knowledge of skin and my experience. That's what it's coming from. But to acknowledge that sometimes can be difficult for me, because you still second guess yourself sometimes, maybe my way is different than your way. But I know what works for me. So when I can accept the fact that they're asking me what my way is, like I'm teaching this course or this curriculum based on the way I do things, that has helped me a little. So I have to kind of talk to myself in my head sometimes.
And that's true. And that's 100% true. Like when I'm teaching, I'm well aware there's nothing absolute. And I learned early on when I started writing courses, like I'm a prolific writer, like with my courses, the theory part writing. And I've learned not to write with absolute. I always say may have, it could, tends to, learn to use those words to leave openness, right? And we're and I'm like you, and I agree with you. We teach on valid information that we've put to use in a particular way that works for us and that brings us amazing results. And that's what we're teaching. And if people seek you out, to ask you a question or take your course, then there's something about you that they resonate with, or they've seen pictures of your work, or they connect with, that they want to learn your way.
Yeah. And that was the biggest thing that I'm still accepting, because I will continue to question myself and my, my ways based on, well, what if Teryn says something different? Or what if, Shara does this differently?
But what if I do? Right? What if we do?
Yeah.
And we talked about this when we were, when we were talking about, working together. Is like, I think that's the best kind of collaboration. I don't want to collab with someone that thinks exactly like me and works exactly like me. Then you're just like, might as well just make a clone of me. And there's
might as well do it. Might as well do it alone.
Might as well do it alone.
Why collab at all? If that's
exactly
the case,
right. What excites me is collaborating and teaching with someone that sees things a little differently than me, has a difference of opinion than me, works differently, moves differently than me. I love that. I just think that's the best kind of collaborations. And sometimes I think the most successful collaborations and the most helpful for the student.
I agree, because the thing in this industry is that, I encourage people, take my course and then take another one. Like, keep learning, never stop learning, because there are so many different ways of doing things, and you will take golden nuggets from each instructor. You will take little pieces and you will find your own way with all of the little crumbs that you've created. You'll have your own recipe at the end of the day. And that is something that I always encourage. Never stop learning. And challenge what I tell you, because maybe you'll find a better way or something different that works for you. But this is what works for me. And I'm happy to share as much as I possibly can all of the things that I've learned over my years with other people.
Well, I think now the industry is in a place, because I think for quite a chunk of time, they were taught one needle, one movement, one way, one type of pigment. It was just all copycat training. And that hurt the industry. It hurt the artist and it hurt the industry. So now I think now I'm seeing artists in the industry move into other needle
fundamentals.
Yes, the fundamentals.
Proper fundamentals. Not the fundamentals of one needle, but the fundamentals of all needles.
Yes, the fundamentals.
Understanding.
Yes, the fundamentals of permanent makeup, which I think are critical and every artist must learn. You just don't, after you learn them, you just don't bind yourself to them, right? You learn them and then you build off them. But artists today are not getting the fundamentals of PMU. And I think there's a lot of components to the fundamentals.
100%.
7 or 8 key components of the fundamentals that they're just not learning. Which puts them at a disadvantage. You and I have talked about that. But I think I think artists are figuring it out, though, because their clients are coming back dissatisfied. And
they're figuring it out because they have no other choice but to figure it out.
Exactly.
Which is sad, because had they known more from the get-go, we could have prevented a lot of things from happening. But regardless, they're going to learn because they need to. They don't have a choice. They have to learn right now. So
why do you think fundamental training got lost somewhere? And the loudest, most attractive training was this signature training with just one needle, one movement, one concept. When there is fundamental training out there and available, how did that become not visible anymore? And you know what I mean?
Honestly, I think fancy schmancy marketing,
smoke and mirrors marketing.
Yeah, I do. I think a lot of it was that for the industry. I think it was like the traveling to here and to taking this masterclass and that masterclass. And I think it was a big show for a while.
Yeah.
And it was exciting. It was exciting.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was beautiful people. And it was networking and meeting and then learning this technique. And I also think that the beauty trends, like makeup trends, I think too much influence on that, and then trying to the crossover of our industry and that. And I don't think that should have ever happened, but I think it just happened. I think the YouTube beauty tutorials, and then, it was a big old mess.
I knew we were in trouble when I started seeing people in the industry refer to permanent makeup as a beauty treatment. That really bothered me. I thought, we're in trouble. if the public is convinced like this is a beauty treatment and new artists coming into the industry is a beauty treatment, we're in trouble because this is a tattoo. This is tattooing.
Gosh. I say it all the time to the point that I feel like I'm annoying. A tattoo is a tattoo is a tattoo. You'll hear me say that. You'll see me write it in captions all the time. I will argue. I'm not a controversial person. I don't like confrontation.
No, you're not.
You know that I am very passionate about that. And I think that those of us that have been in the industry long enough and we've seen all of the things that we've seen, and trust me, I am no angel. I have made my mistakes. Like, I'm the first to point out the mistakes that I've made and the lessons that I've learned from those mistakes. That's why I teach, because I teach off of my experiences, the good and the bad. That's one thing that I'm very passionate about. A tattoo is a tattoo. We're implanting ink into the skin. Don't care what kind of ink it's going into the skin. It's considered a tattoo.
Yeah. So let's segue right into, Shay's number one pet peeve, the only controversial topic that you will speak on, but it needs to be spoken, right? So, because I don't know if this is just up for opinion or is this like pretty fact or like semi-permanent versus permanent. It's like
It takes us back to that whole thing that you just said about, cosmetic tattooing or launching this as like a beauty service and it being semi-permanent this and, like brows that don't last forever. And it's just very misleading. And if we are not educating our clients, we are going to have problems. You are setting yourself up for failure. That's on you. You have the control to manage client expectations and to educate clients about what they're having done. I have people all the time. Still, I had a client yesterday come in for consult. We don't usually do consults. She was super nervous. So I let her come in. She brought her mom, sweet, sweet ladies. And the mom said, but this is not a tattoo. And I was like, oh yes, it's a tattoo. Like, this is a tattoo that you're having done. Whether it's microblading, whether it is nano brows, powder brows, it's a tattoo. You have to understand what you're signing up for.
Right. Exactly.
And if they don't know that, then we're failing them.
Yeah.
She obviously didn't land on my website. The next question she asked was how much I charge. And I'm like, okay, so you have not been on our website yet, which is like sad to me because I try to put so much information on there and educate them. I've got videos explaining it. Like I can't inform them any more than I am already doing about what they're signing up for, when they come and see me. And so, I think that's a big problem.
Well, this has been going on since, I entered the industry. I mentioned my first lecture back, I think it was 2005. I think it was 2005, maybe. I can't remember. I think it was in Memphis. And I was told not to say the word tattoo during my lecture. And my very first lecture was on needles. And I was told not to say the word tattoo during my lecture. Yeah. And I'm my own person and I've never really belonged to a clique. I collab with people because I love collaboration. And I love working with a great artist, a great human. But I never really belonged to a clique or followed trends or whatever. I've always kind of stuck to my fundamentals and built off that and done my own thing. I believe in what I believe and I teach what I teach. And so I was probably a little feisty that day, because there was no way, like my first lecture, someone was going to dictate to me that I couldn't say the word tattoo because that went against everything I believed.
It's a pretty big word to not be able to say in a lecture.
Yeah, huge. So, so when I walked up on, and I was also told not to show my tattoos. Yeah. So I had on a sports jacket right up until they called me to go on stage. And then I took off my sports jacket. And that's how I kind of came up with the little double turn on my sleeves. I had to show more of my tattoos. So I walked on stage. I'm nervous as hell, and I think the first 2 minutes you can hear like the quiver in my voice. Yes. But in my opening statement, I said the word tattoo, and I think Kat said you probably said it 20 times throughout your lecture.
Good for you.
And my mentor at the time was probably sinking in her chair and probably wanted to kill me. But back then, they would send around forms to all the attendees. I had about 325 people in the audience. And they sent around forms, and the speaker got ranked on different parts of their lecture. And then at the end of the 2-day or 3-day conference, they announced the best speaker of the conference. And I got that title.
I love it.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. Because you were true to yourself. And
yeah, I got that title. And not that that won me any, brownie points with the host of the conference at the time.
But how did it make you feel for yourself? Do you know what I mean? Like what did that do for your confidence and probably honestly affect how you speak going forward with, your curriculums or what you share or how you write or all of it? Like, I bet you it actually played a bigger role than you.
It did play a big role. It gave me a little bit of confidence because I was being bullied back then, Shay, right? Because we weren't connected, the internet.
Yep.
So, it was almost like, you had the United States and then you had Canada and then you had these other countries and you weren't connected with them. And the only time you ever even saw another artist is if they came over to a conference at the United States. There wasn't a lot of connectivity. Community. And there was just a couple people, and if you were in the United States, there were a couple of people back then, you're talking early 2000s through the 2000s, that it felt like they could make or break your career. And I would say that they used their powers or their influence to accomplish certain things or to get artists to do certain things. And so I felt I went through this period where intimidation tactics were being used on me, and I was being even a little bullied because they saw that my career was starting to take off. And so sticking up for myself that particular time gave me a little confidence to stick up for myself the next time, which was a worse situation. I won't get into. This is not what this podcast is about, which gave me a little bit more confidence to stick up for myself for the next situation. All of this which was happening in a 2-year period, which finally I was able just to get myself out of that circle of people and out from under that influence, kind of like a fuck you. My career's taking off whether you like it or not. And I'm going to speak the way I speak. And
I love that.
Yeah, but it was a hard time for me. I remember it was a very difficult time for me. And I remember being afraid, really being afraid of the influence.
I've been there. I have been not right there, but I can relate to this conversation quite a bit, actually, quite a bit. And feeling timid, feeling like if I make this choice, this could be really bad for me. What if it prevents me from, getting opportunities in the future and what have you? And at the end of the day, we have to rely on ourselves and believe in ourselves and make the choices that we feel good about, right? Like I always say, if I can lay my head down on my pillow at the end of every day and feel proud about the choices that I make and not have any regrets in decisions that I make, then that is all that matters when it comes to business and business decisions. Because there are unfortunate things that happen in business, right? It's unavoidable. But being confident with yourself, your choices, and feeling, no regrets is very important. And that you learn every single time. You build confidence every single time. You get stronger every single time. And that's what, helps you to grow and take those steps to the next part of your career and makes the decisions easier and easier. It's not fun. There's tears in business. Like it's hard. There are hard times, but I can relate for sure.
100%. There's tears, there's fears, there's a lot of things, but, and I agree with you. The one thing, at the end of your career, you want to look back and you want to know that you stayed authentic and genuine I think authenticity, people are craving it right now. And, but just staying authentic and true to yourself and making your own decisions and not allowing somebody to corner you or push you or intimidate you or threaten you in any way, you know, that benefits them. You know, so, and it's hard to do. And you probably would agree. It's hard to do. You lay there in bed and you think about the consequences. But for me, I can tell you the only consequences were really, I ended up building a great career on my terms, is what happened to me. Do you know? Not that there weren't tears, fears, and some struggles, but the big outcome, what counts is I've lived and navigated my career on my terms, staying true to myself. And I think those early days is what kept me from like forming like these cliques and getting too involved with people or cliques. I think it kind of do my own thing, but very careful who I collab with. I have to know them for quite a period of time. And, you know, it's like, well, you never know someone until like you piss them off, right?
No, and there's nothing wrong with keeping your circle a little smaller. Like I at this stage in my career, and you and me have had deeper conversations about success and what it means to us. And you know, how that has evolved and changed over time. And I feel very successful regardless of numbers of money and what have you. If I can provide for my family, love what I do every day, and, you know, never stop enjoying this, then that is success to me. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, same. Well, I think too many people, right? They're busy. They're too, you know, they make these decisions to get involved with people, even or organizations, even if there's like red flags, right? Their guts tell them not, because they're so focused on building the top line when their bottom line is not even profiting enough for them to start even looking at the top line. It's like, you know, they're trying to move too fast, and when you go vertical too fast, you're going to say yes to the wrong things. You're going to get involved possibly with the wrong people. So that, you know, when I'm because I do some like mentoring, private mentoring, and I always tell people, like, don't worry about that top line and going vertical too fast. You know, focus on that bottom line and really building that solid bottom line and making that really profitable. Because if you start going vertical too fast and focusing on that top line too early, and that becomes your focus, you're going to use up all your profits, your bottom line's making you, and you're going to end up in situations with people you wish you had never ended up in.
You go up that high that fast, it's a big drop down. You know what's better is a slow and steady climb, and the longevity. That is honestly the key.
It is the key. And I don't know about you, but I've been in this industry. I sell, well, oh my God, this year will be 23. September will be 23 years. And,
amazing.
Yeah, and really active, relevant, having fun, doing my thing. And I have seen so many people go vertical really fast, and in 5 years, they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah.
It's like, me and Kat will even go looking for them, like trying to find
whatever happened to.
Yeah. So I always tell people, don't worry about that top line. Don't have big goals. Dare to dream big, but focus on that bottom line, build that solid, and move slow, strategically, and consistently. You don't need to get there fast. It's not a race, right?
No.
All right.
I'm proof of that. I literally, like, sitting in my studio right now. It's taken me some time to get here, you know.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about you're giving me all these really awesome segues. Yeah. It's like I'm like the segue.
Like I've done this before.
Yeah, I'm like the segue queen today. Like, it's awesome. So, okay.
I'm doing your job for you.
You are doing my job. You're setting me up so perfectly, Shay. I love it. Okay. And it wasn't even next on my cue card, but
Oh, I'm messing you up. I'm messing you right up.
No,
sending you all over the map.
Because I'm like, I'm versatile. I've been doing this podcasting for a while. Like, yeah, I can. I'm like, I can flow. I'm fluid. I'm topic fluid. So.
You just asked me your next question.
Okay.
I'll shut up.
Well, you're talking about studios, right? You say, well, look at me, my studio. So how long you been doing PMU? How many years now?
Honestly, I'm like trying to figure out the year that I trained in it, but I think it's been 13 years now.
Okay, we'll run with 13 years. So 13 years you've been a PMU artist. Okay, so at 13, this is another thing we have in common. This is just hitting me right now.
Oh, what is it?
So when 13 years into my career, PMU, is when I opened my very first studio. 1,200 square foot studio. I was 13 and a half years in. Up until then, I was working out of a 200 square foot room in a salon. And running my distributorship for LI and my little store. You know, I was already a distributor for LI. We were packing and shipping out of our house. And it finally got to the point where I was booked out almost a year. The store's starting to grow a little bit. So time to get my own studio, 13 and a half years in. And just about a year ago, didn't renew the leases, got out of studio life. And I'm happy as a clam. I'm like loving the freedom of not having a studio, no regrets. Loved it while I did it. Yeah. Had a blast. But it ran its course. It was time for me to move on. So 13 years, you're celebrating 13 years and you opened your studio, 2 years ago? So about 11 years in, you opened your studio. So we both crawled to our studio, baby steps to open up a studio.
Yeah.
What made you decide 11 years in to finally open up a studio?
Blair. Oh, Blair's fault. No, Blair, well, I loved working from home. Like I was so content and I never had this goal of like, I'll know that I'm successful when. Like it was never on my radar to open a space or to expand that side of the business. Because I also, even from home, I was running the online academy and we had our product line and we had our warehouse in the States. All of this was happening while I was still working from home, and we had converted the whole lower level of our house. I call it the lower level. I think it sounds much more classy than the basement, but the whole lower level was converted to a studio. And clients would come down and they'd be like, whoa, this is so nice. Like I was not expecting this. Like when you come downstairs and it's like this beautiful space. I was very happy as the kids got older and I could hear their feet like pitter-pattering on upstairs, running around. It was perfect for me. And I never dealt with overhead. So I had no desire to open up a space or to pay somebody's, lease. I didn't want to lease a space. And I also wanted to stay very close to home. And so this building that we're in now, it went up, it was being built and we drove by and Blair said, hey, look, those are for sale. Anyways, all of the stars aligned. And so this space, we came and looked at it and they were for purchase, commercial space for purchase, and it's 6 minutes away from the house. So as an investment opportunity, Blair was like, I think we should get it. Like, what do you think? I was like, okay, like you're the money man, you know the back end of things. If you think this is a good opportunity, then that's fine. Like it'll be fun to decorate. So I built it out because the business had expanded. I have an assistant. We were working either remotely over the phone or at the kitchen counter. Like it just got to be too much. And so I could understand that a space would be nice. I didn't think it would make such a huge difference as far as like even my mental health, like the clarity of like shutting down and leaving work at work. I had for many, many years, just blurred, work and home life all the time.
So was the studio better for your mental health or
significantly?
Not? So it was better for your mental health. Okay.
But I didn't know otherwise.
Right.
I really didn't know I had nothing to compare it to. I loved working from home, like I really did, but I didn't know what it would be like to But this is such a, like, I'm very lucky. I'm right close from home. It's built to every spec is how I wanted it. Like it really aligned beautifully for when it happened, but this wouldn't have happened any other time. We wouldn't have been able to afford to buy a space like this if I hadn't come that far in my career to be able to, you know, like,
Right.
So I'm very lucky and I do love it here, but there's also new challenges, right? There's a whole schwack of new challenges. And I'm actually relying on other people. Like I'm asking questions back in the DM, people who have had spaces before, have built out, like I'm adding on artists. That's something that I, you know, didn't really do before. It was like me and my mom working together and now we have more artists here. And so it's still new to me 2 years in and I'm still learning a lot, you know?
So let's
want a book, but
exactly. So let's talk about some of those challenges. Cause when I'm talking with people, I think artists, like once they're like 3 or 4 years in, or even some of them are only 2 years in, but you know, they're doing really well with clientele. They almost feel like to be validated, they have to have their own studio. And I'm like, no. I said, in studio is not everything that you think it is. I mean, I owned a studio for 13 and a half years and I had, you know, 5 artists, you know, rooms plus myself. And for most of those years, all, you know, those 5 rooms were full. So I had 5 artists. And then we did an apprenticeship. I did a 1-year apprenticeship program and we would have, you know, 3 at one point. I mean, not too long before we closed, the year before we closed, we had like 8 apprentices at the same time, you know, because we had that big training area. So you're talking a lot of personalities.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
It's in one space. A lot of people in one space. And you're the go-to person when anything goes wrong. If your artist has a problem with a client, they're texting you to help you with client management. You know, your artists can get bad reviews that go on your Google, and that can affect the studio and your brand. You're talking apprentices and models. It's just, there's so much. It was so much. And,
a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts. And I think the assumption is, if you're an artist that's booked 6 months out, you can move into a studio and bring in a couple of artists and your overflow will just automatically start going to these artists. And you assume these artists have their own clientele or will be able to market and bring in their own clientele. And you'll just automatically have this new generated avenue of income. And
perfect. Sign me up. On paper, it's perfect.
On paper, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes it goes that way. I had years where the Girls Inc. studio was extremely lucrative because all 5 rooms were rented, all 5 artists were seeing clients. And then you have periods where 2 artists quit, there's 2 vacant rooms. Oh, sorry, I lost my headpiece. And I think the misconception is it's very difficult. I spent years building my loyal clientele here in Vegas, and some of them almost got offended and mad at me and asked me, "Are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong?" Because I wanted to book them with Amber or Michonne or Kiona or one of my artists. They don't want another artist. They want you.
Yeah. We're experiencing that as well. And you don't want to offend them by saying, you know what, like for your touch up, maybe you would like to see so-and-so because so-and-so is so good with this and that. And I want to share. And plus all of these artists are trained by me. It's not like I have tons. This space is humble. It is just over 1,000 square feet. And we are like a family run business here. You know, like all of the girls that work here, it's my mom, my sister-in-law, and Pammy, who I love so much. She's like a non-blood hire. But you know, they're very, very good at what they do. And I've trained them to do work just like me, to do it as close to my, you know, way of doing things as possible. But getting that point across to clients it's a little difficult. It's taken longer than I thought that it would, you know?
Yeah, it does. It does. And It was difficult. And I remember, because me and Amber are still really super close. You know, we go to dinner once a month, and I still see clients. And I'm seeing my clients at her studio now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which is like this full like circle. She opened up.
How cool!
It is.
That's so cool.
It is very cool. Because I was ready to like close the chapter on owning a studio, I was not ready to stop seeing clients. I still love the craft. You know, that feeling when you put that needle in the skin, Shay, it's like all your problems disappear.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm seeing it happen though. There's more people in this industry that are like, we'll call it downsizing. Like they have got a status and they've worked hard to get there, but they're making the choice to step back down to the art.
Yes.
And I've had conversations with artists, and on certain days, me too. Like on certain days, I am like, that is my happy place. If I'm in a bad mood, if I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed, Cass knows that I need clients. And she's like, Kate, I'll move a client to today for you because it's my medicine, you know, like I need it.
Because we have to be present.
Yes.
You have to be so present. And there's not many scenarios personally for me. You know, I have, you know, anxiety and recycling thoughts and wandering. I have a mind and I have thoughts that I'm incorporating new tools to control my mind, have more control over my mind. But a lot of times I don't have control over my mind. So that's one moment. That's one scenario is where I'm present. The noise is gone. The noise is gone.
It's quiet.
Yeah, when I'm four-wheeling, you know, when we're out four-wheeling, the noise is gone because you have to be present or you could die. You know?
You're like locked in. You're in.
Yeah. Even if I have a migraine, like the minute I start like tattooing, it's like I don't feel the pain of the migraine because you're so present and focused on doing such a beautiful procedure that you're just so present. There's something so beautiful about that and intimate and sacred about that I just wasn't even close to ready to give that up. But you know, all the other stuff going on, it was affecting my love of the craft. It was kind of making me feel like I didn't have enough time for it. So maybe I don't want to do it anymore. But once I got out from under the studio and all the responsibility of all those, you know, humans that were in my, you know, everything changed and got simpler again. It's like I'm working much more simple again. Aren't we, Olivia? And it feels awesome. It's like
like you're clearing space. It's like when you you know, you go into the linen closet and it's just it's a hot mess, and then you start like you got a donation pile and you start like clearing things out, and then when you close those doors after it's all like organized and it's emptier. There's less stuff in it, and yet you feel lighter. You're just like, okay. Yeah. I can go shopping for new stuff now.
Yeah. You know what? It's really weird, Shay, and I'm still dealing with this feeling. I'm still dealing with this emotion where, because I would work, Sunday, Mondays are supposed to be my days off, or at least Sunday. But I would work. I would work. So now I'll wake up on a Sunday or a Monday and it's like, okay, do I not have nothing to do or am I just forgetting shit? It's like, it's like, I really don't have anything to do on a Sunday now. I can really take Sunday and Monday off.
Like properly take it off.
Take it off, you know, and I never was able to do that for years and years and years and years. And there's still, you know, it's still a little weird feeling. Feels good, but it feels a little weird. I feel like I'm missing something or a little bit of, I don't know if it's a guilty feeling or I'm letting something slip or you know, I'm still working through that a little bit. It's a process, I think, you know. But,
I feel like I can't remember. If you saw my house, my space, my purse, my bags, I have notebooks everywhere. And there's lists everywhere. And that's the ADHD part of me. But I can't remember a time when I didn't have a list. a list of something. Like there's always something to do or something to go back and do or to think of or to work on. And so a Sunday with actually nothing, like if there isn't anything, I feel like I start to go a little bit crazy. Like I almost need to have a little something.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, I used to be this big proponent of, up early, work, grind. You want to be super successful if your goals are big, 7-day week grind. I mean, I used to live that and promote that. And I can tell you yes, it made me successful. But it also led me to burnout. And that was like me and Kat's big decision on not renewing the leases. I think even my team, were you in burnout, Olivia? If I was to ask you, were you in burnout? Yeah, she was. And I could see that with my team. And Olivia's been with me like 6 years, man. And my team and I love her. I care about her, we're friends and we love each other outside of work. And same with Sarah and Jen and my we have a small team, but I could see it with them. And, that was my fault because I just kept taking on more and more and more projects. You get to a point where you're afraid to say no to a project, even though, you're maxed out at capacity bandwidth wise, you're still saying yes. So now, because I experienced burnout, which is a real thing, a real thing. And I was just talking to Carla. I saw Carla in London. And Alex, and I was just telling him, I thought the minute I closed the studio last April, I thought my burnout, it would be cured.
Yeah, like
in a couple weeks.
Like a switch.
Yeah, like the switch. In a couple weeks, maybe a month, you're cured. Yeah. Oh, no, Shay. No. Because I don't think you realize the depth of damage that burnout and working like that causes because you're just too in it to recognize it. And
it's so true. It's like fight or flight, but it's constant. Like it's just this level. I used to explain that I'm getting better as well. As the years go on, I'm getting a little bit better each year with hired help and, delegating and what have you. But it is something in here. It's not like a switch. It's like, it's wired. Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard to let go of,
It was.
That hustle mentality. Like it's.
Yeah. No, it was really hard to let go of. And not that I'm still, a little hustler. I've got this little company called Girls Inc. And it's a little company called Girls
side
Inc.
hustle.
My little, and stuff going on that I love. But now, it's like if I don't take on anything else new and we just nurture what we have, which is what we're doing now. I mean, I think, Kat and I and our team are really happy with that. And now we're in this area where we're really learning marketing and we want to see how, it's almost like a challenge, like how far can we take this and what can we do now that we're not taking on new projects and really stretching ourselves thin. So
it's kind of fun, isn't it? Like to sit back and it's like everything that you've built and in the seasons of building things out, it is hustle. You have no choice. It's one thing after another thing, after another thing, after another thing. It's constant movement. But when you built that out and there's nothing to add at that point, it's like, okay, I've done all the things. Now I get to just nurture, like actually spend time on that, which you didn't have the extra time to do before because it was a constant movement and momentum,
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we have one more piece of our little burnout that's the store. We've been building on a new store. And what are we, 7 months in, Olivia? 7 months. So, because when we launched our store about 8 years ago, it was click and buy. It was like a click and buy store, right? It was all those showcasing products, click and buy. And then the industry's different now. So we're building a brand new store and, now it's all about funnels and incorporating AI. And so that has been a massive project. But we're at the very end. It's launching and going live in about a month.
I'm so excited.
Less. Yeah. And Olivia and Sarah have really taken the reins because what do I know about building out a freaking store? So, but
there's a lot. And it's changing, and it's so different than it used to be. Yeah. And that's the part where I'm like, Cass, Blair, they love all that stuff, but it's like constant learning every day.
It is.
There's a new add-on and an app and this, and I'm like,
100%.
Yeah.
So I think once that launches, we'll have a really modern, up-to-date store that's more community built. And
I'm excited for you
yeah,
guys.
I'm really excited. I think that's just kind of what we're kind of waiting for as a team, is for that to get launched and then start, working around that and building that. Okay, so what advice would you give someone thinking about opening up their own studio? Let's say, they're a really great artist, and, maybe they're booked 3-4 months out, and they're thinking that's the next step. Because probably a lot of listeners listening to us right now, that's probably where they are. They're back and forth, him and hawing. Should I open up a studio? Should I not open up a studio? I'm booked 3-4 months out. Like what would be your advice? Or what was the biggest lesson you learned that you could pass on to them?
Yeah. Well, I would say don't stretch yourself thin. If it's not something financially that makes sense for you to do right now, then just pause and wait. Success doesn't mean you have a space or a studio. I don't know why it has this status thing associated with it. And I don't think that it should, because like we talked about, there's just a lot more that goes into it. And so you have to allow the time and energy to put into having a space, or to, be focusing on artists that you're hiring and making sure their needs are met, and that there's just a million more things to worry about. And that's going to take away time from your art, your craft, and your client profit, which is what you're doing now. So not that I'm saying don't do it, because I do love having this space, and it definitely inspires me and motivates me, but it's taken me a long time to get here, and I'm glad that I didn't rush it. I'm so glad that I didn't rush it, right. And that I didn't go bigger than I needed to, or, fancier. This is just what we need, and we were ready. We were sure that we were ready for it.
What about the artists? Yeah. What about, because with every studio, there's a remodel. And you can get a quote, but the remodel is always you gotta have a contingency in there, right? Because it's always going to be more than you expected, and it's always going to take longer than you expected. Yep. What about artists that want to finance that? They want to put everything on a credit card, like they don't have the savings. They didn't save money for the build out, and for the furniture, and for what it costs to stock the room, and the marketing it takes, and they put it all on a credit card. Do you have any strong feelings about that?
All I can say is that I personally, and take this for what you add. There's a million other marketing out there who will say whatever they're going to say and then do this, but for me, I never want to be indebted to my business in any way, shape, or form. Never. I don't want to own a laser. I'm jealous of all of these laser techs out there with all the removals that they're doing and what have you. I'm not going to invest in a laser for my space. I don't want to be indebted to a device, to a machine. I want this to be profitable at all costs. And we know what our profit margins are in this industry. And so for me, that's a huge thing. I'm never going to do that, but that's my personal choice. And you know what I mean? The thought of doing that would cause me stress, but I got no financial advice for anybody, but that would be tough for me, because you just don't know.
No,
you don't know what's
you don't know. Thank you for being honest. And that is a tough question to answer, because, I acknowledge that there are people in this industry that did finance everything, put everything on a credit card, build it out.
It could be a great decision for them. Yes. That could have been, if they didn't do that, what would have happened?
Exactly. And it ended up working out for them.
Yes.
And they were successful. Me personally, I think that's another thing we have in common. The one thing Kat and I, we did not want debt. I've never, ever, all these years, in 22 years, had personal business debt. We opened our, we just saved our money, and we paid cash for the build out, and the other, and what I always used to tell Amber, because I knew Amber was going to have her own studio one day, and she would always say, "No, I'm not. I'm going to stay here forever. I don't want all this." I'm like, Amber, you're a mini me. You're an entrepreneur. You're going to have a studio one day. And so my advice, I would always say, when you do, always make sure that you're not relying on artist commissions to pay that lease and to pay your utilities, pay your landlord. Make sure that you personally are bringing in enough income through your clients and online classes, whatever your revenue streams are, that if those rooms are empty for a year,
you're fine.
You are fine. You are not dependent on someone. That was the advice that I gave Amber. And it wasn't too long ago, we were in there. And we all know it's a little bit slow right now. And she was saying, T, that advice you gave me, it's so funny. I'm giving it to everybody else now who asked, don't open up a studio unless you can pay for everything by yourself. You don't need no artists. I tell everybody that.
Seriously. I said the same thing to Cass the other day. I'm like, okay, so it's a Tuesday afternoon here at 2 p.m. I'm doing this interview and the studio is quiet. Okay. That could be stressful to some people, to some business owners. I could be like, I've got 3 empty beds right there on a Tuesday afternoon. Like, that's not good. But realistically, if we use the space only for office space, for filming content, for creating online courses, and for me taking my clients 2 days a week, I'm fine. I am more than fine.
Right.
So financially, it's good. Of course I want the girls to be busy, and we're going to keep working on that to get them even busier in here. But that is so true. Like, you do not want to rely on anything or credit or, no, it can't be that way.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
No. And and I, like I said, I do some private coaching and, and so, I work with some people that are feeling financial stress and have gone through it, but because, I think that just the idea of the studio, just, all you have to do is just hire artists and, and everything's great. And it's just not that easy. And as, and I feel bad for the person that, did open up the studio on credit cards and took out debt, and then the economy takes a turn. It's like some people are going to be okay going that route, and some people are not going to be okay going that route. I said, so I think you got to sit down and crunch numbers. And if you are going to use credit cards to remodel and open up the studio, crunch your numbers, stick to a budget, and have a plan, A, B, and C, not just plan A.
I was going to say. Yeah. Definitely a plan B, but C is not going to hurt you either.
C is not going to hurt too. I mean, really plan it out and do it strategically to make sure that you're okay. Because I've seen, I've worked with some people that ended up in financial stress, and that can be some of the worst stress.
Definitely.
Especially for people like you and I. I think the more people I talk to, Shay, on this podcast, I thought I was the only one in PMU that had anxiety. And,
oh God. I think most of us are cut from the same cloth, to be honest with you.
Right.
I think a lot of our brains there's something in common there.
Something in common there. But you use it to your advantage, right? Your anxiety and your ADHD, you use it to your advantage. You learned to, because it can be a disadvantage. I mean,
it can. Oh, yeah.
So I think you have to, you
have to find a way to work with it and not see it as a disadvantage or something that's harmful to you or something that will prevent you from moving forward. Anxiety, I think a lot of people have anxieties and worries, and it can consume you. It really can, if you let it, so much of it is mindset, and trying to control that can be very difficult, but I've done a good job. And I feel as though the ADHD thing that I have going on and that I've had going on, honestly, for my entire life. I was actually recently officially diagnosed for it within the last year, and a lot has changed. And I've learned so much more about myself, and I understand a lot more about myself, and I've released myself from quite a bit of guilt, actually, that I've had about the way my mind works or how I am, and how I've been in the past, now that I understand it a little bit more. But it pushes me, having a mind that's constantly wandering and constantly busy, and it's full of thoughts, and it's inspiring, which is good. So if you can find a way to get the help that you need, like, so for me, I love starting projects. I love starting lists. I love ideas. Like, I'm constantly, like you said, you're creative. Oh, yeah,
do you finish your projects and finish your lists, or do you just start your projects and start your lists?
Cassidy, would you say that I finish my projects all the time?
It's funny. We both go to our right-hand girl.
We finish your project.
We finish our projects.
Yeah. So again, I've learned, and I'm at a point where I can get things crossed off the list, and I can complete incredible projects with the help of others. Yeah. And so knowing when to ask for help and relying on the people that you need, like Blair and my lovely assistant Cass, who is just my whole entire world.
Isn't it funny how we speak to our assistant? I know, because we need them so bad.
Oh, Cass, the light went off.
Olivia's like, please no more lists here. I haven't given you a list in a long time, have I? No, I haven't. She's working on the store.
Poor Cassidy gets voice notes at 3 a.m. and it'll just be one word. It'll be like ice cream.
Well, you know what we should do one time, Shay? We should have Olivia and Cassie do a podcast.
Seriously, I think
talking about me and you.
The reality of working.
The reality
what
of
it's
working
really
for
like.
Shay and Teryn.
100% we need to do that.
Laughing her ass
we
off.
need to.
We need to do that.
They would learn so much. The viewers would learn a whole lot more about us on a different level.
Or would they really? Because I think you and I are pretty, I don't know. I've started crying on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. I think, no, you know what? I think we're both very authentic, and I think people know what we're like, because I'm the same off camera or off Instagram as I am on it. And so I think it probably wouldn't be all that surprising. It's not like we've got a whole bunch of skeletons in our closet or anything.
No, I've got no skeletons in my closet.
No.
I don't know what Olivia would tell people that people don't already know. Is there anything?
Yeah.
No, really? I'm me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're perfect.
Yeah,
we're great.
I hug her and love on her all the time. Yeah, Saturday I looked at her. I just thought she was so pretty. I just looked at her and I went, "Oh my God, you're so pretty."
Actually, Cass, where's your shirt? I'm gonna show. Where's your shirt that I bought you? I brought her a shirt today. I'm the same. I'm always thinking about her, and I'm like, I was shopping and I bought this for you because I love her so much. And
I don't buy her things.
I was like, no,
yes, I do.
I said, it's just a sleeping shirt. It's really soft. And I was like, when I think of your job, like your title, this for me sums it up. Like, it completely sums it up.
Chaos
coordinator. You know, so she coordinates my chaos essentially. And like, she organizes all of my brain dumps and my thoughts. And that's how we execute things together.
Yeah.
You know? So it is calling on your team, and it is and knowing when you need help, and and using the good stuff that comes from the ADHD and the, you know.
No, I think Olivia does that for me too, because she's so calm. I mean, I'll ask her, I said, don't you ever like get upset or get like heated or no. I'm like,
they save it for at home when they cry in the corner shaking.
Yeah, right. Right? Want to see what I bought Olivia?
Later after work hours.
This is what I bought Olivia.
What is that?
This is so you put your phone on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's
see that?
Too.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to get her a t-shirt though, Chaos Coordinator. I like that.
I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So funny.
So yeah, I think that would be great to do that.
Yeah.
Have Olivia and Cassie do a podcast talking about us. But anyway, hey Shay, it's been awesome.
It's been
talking
so
about you. Talking with you. I guess I would just ask you like one more thing. So, because you're right, I think a lot of people have anxiety, ADHD, racing thoughts. Let me ask you this: are your thoughts ever like disturbing, like negative? Do you deal with like racing negative thoughts, or are your thoughts always just like business and creating, and you're not doing enough, or do your thoughts end up going down like a rabbit hole, and like they can just like go off and like in places you're like, what the hell, man? It's like that hasn't even happened. Why am I like?
Yeah, no, not very often. I can be like hard on myself, but over the last year, I've noticed that I'm not a bitch. I'm overstimulated. overstimulated. That is like the quote of my year. I'm like, I'm not a negative person and I'm not rude or mean. I just get overstimulated. And so for me, it's like really paying attention to when I feel like I'm overwhelmed or there's just too much noise going on. And that can be like exterior noise or interior noise. But I just have to now start acknowledging it a little bit more so that I don't let it get past that point.
So you get a little cranky.
I get cranky. Yeah, I can get cranky.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. But I'm really open with that with like my team. But, I've never, I think everybody that knows me too knows that I can be a little cranky, I get a little moody. But I think that's the artist and the entrepreneur in us. I don't know an entrepreneur or someone that has scaled a business that it can't be a little cranky or be a little moody. Especially once you start building a team, you're responsible for their paychecks and you think about that. Days you don't want to work or days you don't feel motivated, you think about your team. You think, oh my God, it's like I'm responsible for like people's paychecks and that's a huge responsibility. But it's just important. Like I've never like yelled at any one person or anything like that, but they can tell when I'm in a mood.
Blair gets the worst of it. Cass, I'm pretty cool with Cass. She knows. And Cass, you know what? She's not a perfect angel too. She has her days where she gets stimulated and needs maybe a little break from me. And we are very good at like knowing that about each other. Like I can know when she is like, Shay, if you add one more thing to my list, I'm gonna have a mental breakdown. But she'll never say that. So we've just gotten very good at like mental communication and like knowing each other's,
Well, you know what, Cassie, Olivia maybe can help you with that because Olivia's never gotten moody or cranky with me. No. Have you? Never once. And if I pile her list, she just keeps never.
And when I say Cass, like it might be that she breathes louder and then I'm like,
so you've learned the subtle little signs.
Like, or if she like closes her book a little too hard, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm in my head and I'm like, you don't leave me ever, like never leave me, I need you, So no, she's
funny.
Never gotten mad at me, but I'm sure that there are days that, I'm sure we're not always the easiest.
No, we're not, Shay. We're not the easiest. Are we the easiest? Am I the easiest?
They know that we love them so much.
Yeah, no. See, she just said we're not the easiest. No,
not always.
But they love us. They know we're good humans. They love us, and
there are people.
There are people. So what? She's audio is on. Oh, okay. We lost your audio.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, you're back.
When in doubt, turn it off and turn it back on again.
That's all right.
That's my answer for everything.
We're done anyway. We wrapped it up. Yeah. We got through a lot of...
We did. That was a lot.
Were you nervous?
I forgot we were... No, actually, no.
You had no anxiety over this?
Not even a little bit. That's I said to Blair this morning, I've got my big podcast today with Teryn. He's like, oh yeah? He's like, you're going to kill it. And I'm like... It's literally just me talking to Teryn. Like I am so comfortable with you and you have this way with people. And I've always been able to just spill all of my guts to you. I don't know what it is, but no nerves whatsoever. And I'm not the biggest fan of podcasts, but this one I knew I would enjoy. So thank you. You get nice and easy on me.
Nice and easy. Well, thank you. I appreciate time. I know you're a busy girl and you're a mom and a wife and all that. And so time is precious, especially nowadays. So I appreciate your time. And I think the listeners are going to love this podcast. You are a beloved person in our industry and you're definitely somebody that people look to. Look up to, Shay, myself included. One day I'll be gone. I feel like I'm in my last act. However many years that is, could be 10. But, when you, more. Of course, lots more. I haven't reached all my goals and achieved all my dreams yet. So, but, one day, it will, I think I've said this to you and, there's a couple other people. It will be you. It will be, there's a handful of people out there that, that will be leading the industry, whether you like that term or comfortable with that term or not, and I believe you will be one of them. You already are one of them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any compliment from you is one that I take very seriously because I've always looked up to you so much. And it must be known that, you know, my entry into this industry, my first call after I took a terrible one-day class was to Girls Inc. And you guys were amazing and guided me and helped me. And at that time, that wasn't existing in the industry. There wasn't help, and there wasn't sharing of knowledge. So I've always been a massive, massive fan, and it's an honor to call you a friend. So
well, thank you. That's a huge compliment. And look at you're paying it forward. So that's what happens. It's the trickle down effect, right?
Yeah,
when someone like you know, profoundly steps in your, you know, is put in your journey and helps you.
Yeah.
You know, when you need it, maybe need it most, and nothing is expected in return. They just help you, right? Which is what I've enjoyed doing all my career. You know,
we need more of that, I think.
Yeah, we do. And I'm glad that you're one of the crusaders out there doing it with me. It's awesome. And I'm proud to call you friend.
Thanks, Teryn.
You're welcome. So hang on. I'm going to say goodbye to my viewers, and then I'll come back. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for this episode of Tatter-a-Fact. Thank you for hanging out with me for the entire episode. That was Shay Danielle. And what an awesome episode. So remember, stay in the pursuit of happiness, everyone, and we will see you next time.